and welcome to Kent Tonight live on KMTV. I'm Louisa Britton, your top stories on Thursday the 23rd of November. Fear on the streets, exclusive KMTV investigation reveals extent of crime problem in Gillingham.
Go to my meetings or anything, and that's only round the corner at the badminton centre I go in my car, because I don't trust any of the youths that we've got in this area at the moment.
Is there a doctor in the house? Universities team up for multi-million-pound medical school for Kent.
It would make a massive difference for the county. It would absolutely, I think, transform health services here.
Award winner, we visit the Kent Club that's been recognised by the Queen.
Our ethos is very much around celebrating difference and finding ways to allow everyone to be the best that they can be.
And in sport, Steve Lovell praises Gillingham's desire ahead of the weekend's game with Oldham.
But first this evening, a KMTV exclusive reports found that residents in Gillingham are too scared to go outside at night following a rise in violent crimes in the area. Problems with knives, gangs and antisocial behaviour have all led to the town being branded dangerous by some residents. But Kent Police and MP Raymond Shishti says there isn't a gang problem and that the streets are safe. Harry Pete has this report.
Game.
Too dangerous and too scary. Residents in Gillingham have said they're too terrified to go outside at night alone. They blame a gang culture amongst young people who terrorise the public.
You're still getting the gangs of youths that congregate late at night when it's dark and people feel intimidated to go out. If you turn around and say to them, look, can you disperse, you get really bad language and they have a go at you.
Malcolm lives near the Vineries estate and has seen firsthand the troubles on the streets.
My house threatened to be burnt down, and at the time I had my son, his partner and a 6-month-old baby in the house. If I go to my meetings or anything, and that's only round the corner at the badminton centre, I go in my car, because I don't trust any of the youths that we've got in this area at the moment.
But is Gillingham really unsafe? Well, the figures show that in recent years violent crime has gone up and now accounts for 30% of all crimes in the town. And antisocial behaviour, that also equates to 20% of all crimes in the town as well. But Gillingham and Raynham MP Raymond Shishti believes that the area is no less safe than anywhere else in the country.
Gillingham is a great safe place to live. I would say in response to, in terms of the rise of antisocial behaviour, we are no different from anywhere else. But like everywhere else, we have our issues, but we're working together with all the key stakeholders to make sure that those issues are dealt with in a constructive way.
Teenagers say that a lack of youth centres and things to do have forced them out on the streets at night time. And Raymond wants these young people to work with him.
Well, I would like to hear from those people who've said that. I know we have excellent youth centre down at Woodlands. I know we have a great work being done by faith organisations, by engaging with young people, and recently having had a roundtable discussion with head teachers. So I'm listening to what head teachers have to say and also to what young people. So look, if there's a request to do more for young people and by engaging with them in a constructive and effective way, I'm more than happy to do that.
Kent Police also say there isn't a gang problem in Gillingham and are working to target those who commit violent offences. But just last month, teenager Carl Yule was killed in a gang-related attack in the town. Whilst there's already efforts being made to make the town better for the future, families affected by events in the past have to deal with the memories every day. Harry Pete for KMTV in Gillingham.
A man from Snodland's been sent to prison for 15 years after he raped a woman. 41-year-old Kieran Hodinott was convicted after he denied 3 charges of rape as well as sexual assault. When arrested, Hodinott denied raping the victim and claimed any sexual activity was consensual, but the judge said he'd been convicted on overwhelming evidence. A sexual harm prevention order was made and Hodinott's name will appear on the sex offenders register indefinitely. Now, a murder investigation's been launched after a man was shot at a pub in Folkestone. 58-year-old Joe Daniels was killed at the Red Cow pub in Folkestone yesterday. Well, our reporter Josie Hannett's been following the story and joins me now. So, Josie, what happened yesterday?
Well, this was the scene yesterday just outside the Red Cow pub in Folkestone. There was plenty of police there, forensic teams, the ambulance and obviously a lot of people who live in the area saw the commotion and went to have a look. It was about 11:30 that police were called yesterday morning after reports that somebody had been shot in the pub. It was actually the landlord, Joe Daniels, that was found in there, shot dead, with a gunshot wound, and also there was a shotgun inside the property.
And what are police saying?
Well, police, I did ask them if they are looking for any suspects, to which they didn't really reply. They have said that this is a murder investigation now, which would imply that potentially arrests could be made in future. But what they did say was that they are not ruling out that there is a third party involved, but in terms of whether they're actually looking for anyone, they haven't really been that specific.
And was the victim well known at all in the area?
He was. Well, it seems that he was anyway. On Facebook there's been plenty of tributes, and also at the scene there's also been lots of tributes outside. There's been flowers and posts on Facebook as well. But one of the tributes outside the pub, which was some flowers, I've got here, we believe it's from a member of the family who said they were heartbroken, to say the least, thinking of all of our family right now. Our Joe was a typical Mr. Nice Guy, so a terribly sad story, but hopefully with police investigations ongoing and this being treated now as a murder investigation, hopefully we'll be finding out more, and for any updates we'll have them here.
Great, thanks for that update, Josie. We're sure to keep across that story. Now, as part of a new budget plan, Philip Hammond announced the sale of new diesel cars that don't meet the latest emission standards will be subject to a tax increase. The move comes as part of a series of budget policies designed to cut down on pollution and encourage the purchase of electric vehicles. Will this tax increase affect you? And what are your thoughts on the plans? We asked shoppers in Chatham.
It will, because I mean, I've got a diesel car. Well, my wife has actually, and yeah, it's tax on everything there, isn't it? That's the point.
Well, in a way, I think it'd be good, but then saying that, some people, it's like a living, isn't it, to some people, like van drivers and all that. And I don't think it'd be fair on them or the people who run them.
Well, it will affect my husband, because he's got a diesel and he loves it. So as I said, I don't know whether it'll make up any much difference, because even if we do it in this country, there's other countries that don't.
It affects me, but I just don't think it's right. Why to just tax them more? I thought diesel was supposed to be the safe option from petrol, and now they're taxing that. I just think it's just money. That's just, it's always the case with the government, just making. It's like they just make things up.
No, it doesn't affect me one little bit. It affects my kids, but my daughter and my son.
Well, it doesn't affect me personally, but I guess it will affect deliveries and things like that. I mean, you've got to have diesel vans and lorries, haven't you, at the moment? I see Tesla have brought out an electric powered lorry, which is promising.
Shoppers in Chatham there. But to talk a little bit more about this, I'm now joined by Howard Cox from the campaign group Fair Fuel UK. So, Howard, thanks for coming in. What do you make of these changes announced in the budget yesterday?
Well, it is a surprise, actually, that he didn't put up the fuel duty on diesel. So 37 million motorists in this country, drivers in this country, I think will be pleased, because any increase in fuel duty would severely affect the economy, affect jobs, affect GDP, etc. So we're very, very pleased. We've done a huge amount of lobbying in the last few weeks to try and stop him putting it up. And I've got to say thank you to our campaigning support team and the 1.5 million supporters, as I said, for helping the Chancellor actually listen.
And in terms of diesel cars, they're being taxed more?
No, they're not being taxed more. The new diesels, if you buy a new diesel, the VED rate is going to go up, which again is a bit confusing, because they're taxing cleaner cars. If you buy a new diesel, it's what's called a Euro 6 classification, and they are clean. And so he's taxing those. Now, it's only going to go up £20 or £30 anyway on the smaller family car type sizes. If you're buying a big Grand Cherokee Jeep or something like that as a diesel, you have to pay £400 or £500 more. But then you can afford to pay for that sort of car, so you won't be hit hard on it. It's an interesting thing. It's a small penalty diesel, potential diesel new car owners will have to pay, but we're just delighted that fuel duty didn't go up, and that's the most important one.
And in terms of the tax that new diesel cars potentially might have to pay, do you think it is fair that people have to be taxed on diesel cars when they were told originally that they were cleaner?
Well, you've got it spot. You've hit the nail right on the head. In year 2000, Tony Blair and Gordon Brown said, let's all jump into diesel because it lowers CO2 and you get better miles per gallon. So everything was energy efficient.
But now we learned that they actually hid some information from all of us, that they knew then that the diesel cars increased NOx, nitrogen oxides and diesel particulates. And they didn't tell us. And you cannot blame innocent diesel drivers, hard-working drivers, low-income families, small businesses, that they move to diesel. And something like 60% of the cars in this country are diesel.
And in terms of electric cars, we hear a lot about them. Do you think they're a realistic alternative to polluting cars?
Well, obviously they are, but the school is out, or the jury's out, whatever way you want to put it, on actually how green is an electric car, because the batteries involved in, there's a huge amount of batteries. The cost of making those batteries is actually environmentally damaging. And when the cars goes away, what do you do with those batteries? We're pro technology change, and it's going to happen. And the government are trying to ban diesel sales and eventually petrol car sales completely, all carbon-based fuel vehicles. But really, what we need to do is let technology evolve. There's hydrogen cells, and we also have other solutions.
Great, thanks so much for that. Unfortunately, that's all we have time for, but thank you very much. Coming up after the break, we visit a club for people with learning difficulties and disabilities, which received a prestigious volunteering award today. Don't go away.
We work with children and young people who have autism and learning disabilities, or just who struggle to fit in with mainstream activities. We run various weekly drama groups, singing group, film club, various other arts activities that are all aimed at young people who struggle to fit in.
Welcome back to Kent Tonight, live on KMTV. Your top story this evening. Residents in Gillingham say they're living in fear of gangs as violence is on the rise in the town. But despite violent crime is making up 30% of all offences in the area, Kent Police and an MP insist the streets are safe. Harry Pete has more.
My house threatened to be burnt down, and at the time I had my son, his partner and a 6-month-old baby in the house. If I go to my meetings or anything, and that's only around the corner at the badminton centre, I go in my car because I don't trust any of the youths that we've got in this area at the moment.
Teenagers say that a lack of youth centres and things to do have forced them out on the streets at night time.
Gillingham is a great, safe place to live. I would say, in response to, in terms of, the rise of antisocial behaviour, we are no different from anywhere else. But like everywhere else, we have our issues, but we're working together with all the key stakeholders to make sure that those issues are dealt with in a constructive way.
Now with more positive news for the Gills, this time off the pitch, here's Keelan with the sport.
First up in sport this evening, Gillingham manager Steve Lovell has praised his team's drive after their upturn in form. Following 3 away wins in a row, Gillingham scored late to take a point from Blackpool in the week, and Lovell was delighted with the way his side kept going until the end.
The desire was there, and you just had a feeling that they believed in themselves in the second half, that they would get a goal. And I know we left it late, but the longer the game was going on, it looked more likely that we were the ones who were going to score. And obviously we're delighted that Tom got his goal, and but as I say, it was, even after that, Tom had a good header saved, and before that, Conor Wilkinson had 2 really good chances. So the second half was very, very bright, and we controlled it really.
Tom Eaves was the goal-scoring hero on Tuesday, then grabbing his 7th league goal of the campaign. The Scouser collided with the post after scoring the equaliser, so are there any concerns that he might not be fit for Saturday's game at home to Oldham?
If it's Tom's head, you don't got to worry about that. Anywhere else on his body, but if it's Tom's head, don't worry about his head. No, he's fine. He's fine. He's a great lad, and that the boys love him, and he's a character. But he works hard. He's a great professional, and he's great to have around, and I'm so pleased that he's doing so well.
Kent-based golfer Alfie Plant has endured a tricky start to the Hong Kong Open on the European Tour. Plant carded a 7-over par round of 77 to leave him needing a special second round to avoid the cut. Only 5 players carded worse rounds in the whole field. At the other end of the leaderboard, England's Matt Fitzpatrick is 1 shot off the lead, currently held by Shiv Churasia. In hockey, 3 Kent players have been named in the 18-man England squad for the World League finals. Holcombe trio of David Ames, Barry Middleton and co-captain George Pinner will all travel to Beaubassin, where 8 of the world's best sides will battle it out at the start of next month. Barry Middleton could make his 400th international appearance should he feature in all of England's group games. They take on Australia, Germany and 8-time Olympic champions India in Pool B. Staying with the World Hockey League, and Canterbury's Grace Balsden has helped England's women's side into the semi-finals. A 2-1 victory over America in Auckland means they'll take on host New Zealand on Friday. Balsden started as 2 goals from Sophie Bray were enough for England to progress. New Zealand defeated Argentina by the same scoreline to set up the semi-final clash. That's it from me for the time being. I'll have more sport for you later on in the programme.
Two universities have submitted an ambitious bid to build a new medical school for Kent. The University of Kent and Canterbury Christchurch want to have the facility up and running by 2020. The school would supply 100 degree places. If the bid's successful, the universities will have to raise more than £20 million for the project. In an exclusive interview with KMTV, the Universities of Kent's Vice-Chancellor Professor Karen Cox spoke with our news editor Andy Richards.
There's been a huge amount of work being put into this already in terms of preparing the background case for a medical school for the County of Kent. There's still a huge amount of work to do though. We are submitting a bid and that really is the beginning of the journey. It's hugely competitive and we hope we'll be successful, and then there's a lot of work to do to bring it to life.
It is massively competitive. Why has the university decided to do it, to pursue this school?
So this is something that's been discussed for a long time, again across the county. Both universities felt that this time was right for us to collaborate on this particular bid. There is a call for funded places from the Higher Education Funding Council and Health Education England, and we felt that we had the right people, the right bid and the right support. And the time was right to put this one in.
And talking a little bit about that partnership with Canterbury Christchurch, why have you chosen to do that? Are they the right fit?
Well, we're 2 large universities in the County of Kent. Canterbury Christchurch has real strengths in educating the healthcare workforce. We have strengths in science. We collaborate already on a number of programmes and we want to collaborate on this. It brings together the strengths of both universities and it makes sure that we're bringing all that together to create something that we think is really innovative and will be great for the county.
Now, there's an awful lot of funding that you need to find. I think it's about £22 million. How are you going to do that?
Well, I wish there was a secret stash of cash down the back of a sofa. So, yes, I mean, these are things that we need to think very hard about in terms of the capital that's required to bring a medical school to life. You need great facilities, you need great staff, and they're not just facilities that are needed in the universities, there are clinical learning environments that you're trying to create as well. So yes, large amount of money, and we need to talk with our partners in the NHS, we need to talk with government and Treasury, and we need to make sure that we do deliver this, because I really feel that the people of the County of Kent need to know that there is a workforce that's being created in their county that will work in their county and understand the health needs of the county, and that's what this medical school is being set up to do.
And just going back to the funding again, we heard about the budget this week. It's a really difficult time for the country. There's a lot of financial uncertainty at the moment. Is it realistic to be trying to raise that kind of cash in this kind of environment?
Well, I'd like to think that if 22 million was spent on this, that it would make a massive difference for the county. It would absolutely, I think, transform health services here. We know that areas that do not have a medical school really are challenged in terms of their workforce, both recruiting a workforce and retaining a workforce. We know that if you put in an intervention like a medical school, that can transform that, as well as transform the health outcomes for the people who live nearby and use those local health services. So we're really keen to get this going. We think we've got something that will make a difference, and I think that 22 million as part of that overall solution is really going to be the difference that means that we do something or we don't do something. So we're really keen to get this off the ground, and that's what we are all focused on right now.
Karen Cox, thanks very much indeed.
Thank you very much.
A club for young people with learning difficulties and disabilities in Kent has won a prestigious award. Square Pegs runs drama and music classes around the county and has been recognised at the highest level. Poppy Jeffrey went along to find out more.
A Kent volunteer group has won a prestigious award. Square Pegs runs sessions across the county teaching drama and music. But it's a little bit different. In just a few moments, this hall will be filled with young people. Now, these young people have come from all different backgrounds and all have the same feeling that they don't fit in a normal place. Today, it receives the Queen's Award for Voluntary Service, the highest accolade a group can receive. It's the only group in Kent to get the award this year and is marking the occasion with a ceremony tonight and a visit from the Lord Lieutenant. Square Pegs was started 12 years ago and has since grown with many children and young adults with learning difficulties and disabilities learning to sing and act under the watchful eye of a dedicated team.
We work with children and young people who have autism and learning disabilities or just who struggle to fit in with mainstream activities. We run various weekly drama groups, singing group, film club, various other arts activities that are all aimed at young people who struggle to fit in. And our ethos is very much around celebrating difference and finding ways to allow everyone to be the best that they can be. We're very excited because we've just won the Queen's Award for Voluntary Service, which is the equivalent of an MBE for voluntary groups. So we're really proud of that. I think we're the only organisation in Kent this year who's won it. So it's a really amazing recognition of the work that we do.
They've done lots in the past with performances such as This Is Me, a film exploring personalities in a bid to break stereotypes of disabilities, as well as releasing their own Christmas single a few years ago. But what is it about the club that the members like?
It's kind of like my next family, I would say, and it makes me feel like a legend.
Everyone gave me a warm welcome, and Square Pegs is like my second family, so I enjoy coming here so much, and acting's been my number one true hobby.
Sophie is one of the volunteers who said that helping out at the sessions is really rewarding.
It's a really nice break as well, like to come and see what they do every week, be part of that. It's really, really good fun. So it's definitely very rewarding.
It's clear to see that the young people really enjoy attending Square Pegs, and it's great that the hard work of volunteers hasn't gone unnoticed.
I love Square Peg, about acting club. Bye, I'm famous, bye.
This is Poppy Jeffrey for KMTV in Maidstone.
Tonight will be a little bit wet with temperatures from 7 to 8 degrees around Kent. Tomorrow morning's looking brighter with sunny spells around Chatham, Maidstone and Ashford. We're looking at a bit of drizzle in East Kent in the afternoon with temperatures around 6 to 7 degrees. Looking at the weekend, it will be a little warmer on Saturday with some sunshine to round the week off before a warm but cloudy start to next week on Monday. Coming up after the break, with tax increases on newly sold diesel cars, we ask shoppers whether they're concerned about the government's new budget plans. Don't go away.
When the government brought down the diesel tax, they thought it was a healthy option, but since then they have found it's not a healthy option, and obviously they've got to try and get rid of diesels really, and that's one way of doing it.
Welcome to Kent Tonight, live on KMTV. I'm Louisa Britton. Your top stories on Thursday, the 23rd of November. Fear on the streets. Exclusive KMTV investigation reveals extent of crime problem in Gillingham.
Go to my meetings or anything, and that's only around the corner at the badminton centre I go in my car, because I don't trust any of the youths that we've got in this area at the moment.
Is there a doctor in the house? Universities team up for multi-million-pound medical school for Kent.
It would make a massive difference for the county. It would absolutely, I think, transform health services here.
Award winner, we visit the Kent Club that's been recognised by the Queen.
Our ethos is very much around celebrating difference and finding ways to allow everyone to be the best that they can be.
And in sport, hear about good news regarding Maidstone's plans to expand their stadium.
A KMTV exclusive report has found that residents in Gillingham are too scared to go outside at night following a rise in violent crimes in the area. Problems with knives, gangs and antisocial behaviour have all led to the town being branded dangerous by some residents. But Kent Police and MP Raymond Shishti say there isn't a gang problem and that the streets are safe. Harry Pete has this report.
Game.
Too dangerous and too scary. Residents in Gillingham have said they're too terrified to go outside at night alone. They blame a gang culture amongst young people who terrorise the public.
You're still getting the gangs of youths that congregate late at night when it's dark and people feel intimidated to go out. If you turn around and say to them, look, can you disperse, you get really bad language and they have a go at you.
Malcolm lives near the Vineries estate and has seen firsthand the troubles on the streets.
My house threatened to be burnt down, and at the time I had my son, his partner and a 6-month-old baby in the house. If I go to my meetings or anything, and that's only around the corner at the badminton centre, I go in my car because I don't trust any of the youths that we've got in this area at the moment.
But is Gillingham really unsafe? Well, the figures show that in recent years violent crime has gone up and now accounts for 30% of all crimes in the town. And antisocial behaviour, that also equates to 20% of all crimes in the town as well. But Gillingham and Raynham MP Raymond Shishti believes that the area is no less safe than anywhere else in the country.
Gillingham is a great, safe place to live. I would say, in response to, in terms of, the rise of antisocial behaviour, we are no different from anywhere else. But like everywhere else, we have our issues, but we're working together with all the key stakeholders to make sure that those issues are dealt with in a constructive way.
Teenagers say that a lack of youth centres and things to do have forced them out on the streets at night time. And Raymond wants these young people to work with him.
Well, I would like to hear from those people who've said that. I know we have excellent youth centre down at Woodlands. I know we have a great work being done by faith organisations, by engaging with young people, and recently having had a roundtable discussion with head teachers. So I'm listening to what head teachers have to say and also to what young people. So look, if there's a request to do more for young people and by engaging with them in a constructive and effective way, I'm more than happy to do that.
Well, joining me on the sofa now to talk a bit more about this is Matt Whale from the Medway Messenger, who was part of the investigation, and also Mitchell Parmenter, who has experienced issues with violence in Gillingham as well. So, Matt, first of all, what prompted this investigation?
Well, in Gillingham, we've had a lot of complaints to the Medway Messenger, a lot of issues from residents feeling unsafe, particularly since last month, the death of Carl Yule. There have been a lot of reports of antisocial behaviour and violence, which prompted a lot of Medway McDonald's to introduce a rule banning under 21s from eating inside their store. And it's been just the gravity of complaints and issues that we've had that have prompted us to look into this.
And Mitchell, you don't live here anymore, but what was it like when you did live in the Medway area?
It wasn't too great at all. Growing up in the Medway area was kind of difficult, especially with the school that I went to in an all-boys school. There was never enough for me to do even when I was a child. Any time that a youth club or anything similar came up, it was rapidly closed down. Any courses that would have sparked the interest of a young mind never lasted long enough. Never kept people occupied to keep them away from things. Most children these days are probably enamoured with the glamour of a criminal lifestyle. A lot of things can be attributed to many things: drugs, mental health, problems with parenting, so many different issues that need to be looked at even when I was a child.
And do you think things have got worse since then?
Oh, definitely. 100%. Things have definitely got worse. It was hard for me back then, but now there just seems to be even less for people to do, and now there's more children on the streets. It doesn't seem to matter where you go. McDonald's used to be a regular hangout spot for children, but as Matt said, they've now introduced a ban there, which is a good thing in a sense, because now McDonald's staff are no longer under threat or no longer feel intimidated or such, and there's no antisocial problems, no criminal damage or anything like that. But now they're pushed out onto the streets with nowhere else to hang out.
And Matt, back to you. What do you think could be done to help these people who are on the streets and might get involved in these sorts of gang activities?
Well, I think Mitchell touched upon a lack of youth investment, which I certainly think is an issue. I think not only investing but also engaging with youths and finding out what they could be doing. Perhaps youth centres. I know a number of youth centres in Gillingham isn't quite as high as it used to be, and finding out what they would like to do and how they can address the issue and the culture that sees them feel like they need to carry knives or feeling unsafe themselves, which perhaps is a self-fulfilling prophecy in that you then get more knives, which obviously doesn't make things safer.
Really interesting. Thanks both of you for coming in.
Thank you.
Now, next tonight, as part of the government's new budget plans, Philip Hammond has announced a tax increase on the sale of new diesel cars that don't meet the latest emissions standards. The move is just one of a series of budget policies designed to cut down on pollution. It comes after the government initially encouraged people to switch to diesel cars from petrol. But what do you think of the U-turn? We asked shoppers in Chatham.
Before you know it, when they make everyone move to electric cars, which is what's going to happen eventually, then they're going to start taxing us on the electric cars as well and say, oh, it's not safe, maybe it's destroying the planet somehow.
They decide to go over to diesel. Now they're saying that's bad, and now they want you to go over to electric cars. There's not enough electric chargers around, so this government, I don't think they know what they're doing actually.
Years ago anyway, the diesel was so cheap. I mean, it was only lorries and vans who was having diesel, not cars, and now everything's having diesel, and because of that the government's losing out, so why not? Let's tax them diesel now.
I think we should do more for pollution, but as I said, if we all do it, and I'm talking about everybody, but whether we do or not, it's a different story.
I reckon it's all wrong. I reckon the government's all wrong about that.
When the government brought down the diesel tax, they thought it was a healthy option, but since then they have found it's not a healthy option, and obviously they've got to try and get rid of diesels really, and that's one way of doing it.
Now, don't forget that you can keep up to date on all things going on in Kent by visiting our website kmtv.co.uk. You can check out some of our latest stories from across the county, like this video from last week about a new exhibition about the wife of Winston Churchill.
The saying goes that behind every great leader there's a great partner, and a new exhibition at Chartwell takes a look at one of the country's most notable.
Our exhibition at Chartwell this winter is about Clementine Churchill, so the lifelong love of Sir Winston Churchill. And she and Winston were married for over half a century, and she was an incredible support to him. Her story is definitely less well known than that of her husband, but is really vital to the story of her husband. I'm a great believer that together they were one of the greatest partnerships of the 20th century, but we have had to look further, delve deeper into those archives to get those really wonderful, rounded stories of her life.
We also wanted to bring across more elements about her life, so her role as a mother and a grandmother, and also what I found particularly interesting was looking at her private interests, so her interests in sport in particular. She was a very keen golfer, she was a very keen swimmer, and there's a lovely photo of her playing croquet on the croquet lawn at Chartwell. And also her early life as well, which from my point of view was probably one of the most challenging themes to bring across to people.
One of the many items on display is this never-before-seen childhood photo album showing Clementine's early years towards the end of the 19th century. It's very delicate, hence why I'm wearing these gloves here, and you can see photos of her with her siblings in Scotland and also a shot of her with her dog, Carlo.
I started at Chartwell.
Not many have a more intimate knowledge of the Baroness than her former private secretary, Noni Chapman.
I couldn't have had a better employer. I enjoyed it so much. I met the most fascinating people, and I went to all sorts of wonderful things with her. I even went on a couple of cruises with her, and all sorts of things. It was just amazing.
She was a very, very intelligent, eloquent woman. I think particularly in terms of her relationship with Winston, the support that she gave to him was what allowed him to achieve what he did. And in fact, there's a lovely quote from Winston when he says that the greatest achievement of his life was convincing his wife to marry him. So even he acknowledged just how important she was to him. And he also said that if it wasn't for her, his life and everything he achieved wouldn't have been possible.
Visitors to the Churchill family home have until February to discover more about the lady behind Britain's bulldog. Cameron Tucker, KMTV, Chartwell.
Coming up after the break, we hear from a 17-year-old pianist from Tunbridge Wells to show us his up-and-coming talent. Plus, Keelan will be here with the sport. Don't go away. Hello and welcome back to Kent Tonight live on KMTV on Thursday the 23rd of November. In case you missed it, Fear on the Streets, KMTV's exclusive investigation on Gillingham's violent underworld.
There is no reason to carry a knife, because if you carry a knife, then there can be unforeseen consequences by having it used.
Kent's mission for a new medical school, universities team up for multi-million-pound facility.
We felt that we had the right people, the right bid and the right support. The time was right to put this one in.
Fit for a Queen, the Kent club that's been given a prestigious voluntary award.
It's kind of like my next family, I would say, and it makes me feel like a legend.
And in sport, Steve Lovell praises Gillingham's desire ahead of the weekend's game with Oldham.
Time now for your pick of the papers with a look at what's making the news in print, online and radio across Kent. Earlier today I caught up with the KM Group's Angela Cole, who started off by telling me about some pantomimes opening in Kent this weekend.
OK, well, I hope you're feeling Christmassy, because everything is Christmassy. So Christmas officially starts really on Friday. We've got the opening of the first professional panto in Kent. It's Peter Pan, starring Sean Williamson, who used to be in EastEnders, Barry from EastEnders. In fact, we've got an interview with him in the paper this week. So that kicks off on Friday. And, I mean, there are lots of pantos across the county all Christmas, but that is the first one. And actually, linking in with that, the following day, there's a new exhibition which is opening in Canterbury, which is kind of linked to the panto at the Marlow Theatre as well. This is Ben Roddy there, a very popular dame who's in it every year. And the exhibition, which is called Oh Yes It Is, which is, you know, seems sensible, doesn't it? That's all about the history of panto all the way through the ages, back to like 18th century, right up to present day, with people like Ben.
Fantastic. And the second, again, festive story is about the market opening in Rochester.
That's right, yeah. There's loads of Christmas markets happening all across Kent, and they're good because, you know, you get to pick up gifts and stuff that you wouldn't get other places. But also, there's quite a lot of food on offer. And in fact, the Rochester Castle Gardens markets, which start this weekend and then several other weekends after, they've got lots of Bavarian food, and so is the Dockside Outlet. And there are lots of other markets, including at Leeds Castle and Gravesend, so plenty to look out for.
And there's lots of little stalls as well with sort of festive things to buy,
That's
which is
right,
always
you know,
really
and if
nice.
you want like an extra little decoration for
something
your
for the
tree
stocking or
and-
something, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, love those.
And the last story is about light switching on.
That's right, yes, more Christmas, I'm afraid. So yes, there are quite a few Christmas lights that have already been switched on across the county. In fact, we've got one switch on tonight, though, at Fremlin Walk in Maidstone, which is being led by KMFM. So if you've got a chance, you know, head on down there tonight. But there's also light switch-ons across the county this weekend. We've got Gillingham, Faversham, Strood and Paddock Wood on Sunday, also with KMFM. Tunbridge, 10 to 10. But if you look in the paper and also you look online, we've got a roundup of all the other ones because there's plenty the following weekend as well. So, you know, if you're not feeling festive yet, you will be.
Fantastic. Lots going on there. Thanks so much for that.
Thank you.
A reminder, you can stay up to date with all the news, sport and weather from right across Kent, whenever and wherever you are by clicking on kmtv.co.uk. You'll find breaking news, local features, repeats of our special programmes, plus the latest travel news. Now, a disabled gran in a mobility scooter had a face-off with a 10-tonne tanker on Yalding Bridge in Maidstone. 80-year-old Anne Orchard stood her ground for 10 minutes before being forced to reverse. She uses the bridge because the pavement is too narrow and uncomfortable, and her daughter Helen Martin was there to snap the moment. Anne said she was shaken up and upset by the incident and was on her way to her GP surgery when the standoff happened. With some good news for Maidstone United, here's Keelan with the sport. But first, Keelan, Kent cricketers are on another tour. Where are they headed to next?
Yeah, they've just announced that they will be doing exactly the same tour they did last season, which is the FGS Tour Plant Tour all the way to West Indies. And it's a 50-over format. And last season, what Matt Walker and the coaching side were really hoping for, that it would give them a bit of a head start compared to the other sides in the one-day stuff. And it really didn't work at all, because in the one-day format, they only won one game in the group stages and they finished bottom of the table. So hopefully this time around, it's going to be a lot better. Some of the players have said that it's not really worked out too well for them, because the nature of the tournament is that it's in January, and of course the season doesn't start until about April. So in theory they have about the month or so in the West Indies, and then they still have another month or so where they're back home and in the nets, and it's a different climate to get used to. You go from that hot weather back to the cold weather here, and then you're into the season. So it's still, to be seen whether this is actually going to work for Kent.
And some of them have been sending their support to the Ashes too.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, first day yesterday in the Gabba, and Sam Billings, of course, he's part of the one-day side. He was sending his wishes, and Sam Northeast and Joe Denley, some of the names who were maybe even floating around being in that squad. And of course, England with a pretty good performance on day one, an important morning session in the early hours of the morning today. But all three of those with England ambitions, particularly Northeast and Billings, for tests in the future, and it should be an exciting day's play ahead down in the Gabba. In football, it's been a disappointing few days for Maidstone United on the pitch, but they were given a boost off it last night. Maidstone Borough Council have agreed to offer the club the freehold on a key strip of land so it can expand the Gallagher Stadium. The Stones want to develop the west side of their ground and increase crowd capacity up to 5,000. The club are hoping to buy the 2-metre wide section of land which sits between the stadium and a path leading to Watman Park. That's all your sport news for today. I'll be looking ahead to the weekend's football tomorrow. See you then.
Tonight will be slightly damp with temperatures from 7 to 8 degrees. Tomorrow morning is brighter with some sunny spells around Chatham, Maidstone and Ashford. A little bit of rain tomorrow in East Kent moving through the day with temperatures around 6 to 7 degrees. The weekend will be a bit warmer on Saturday with a sunny Sunday before a warm but cloudy Monday to kick off next week. Now, one of the youngest musicians we've had on the KMTV sofa for you next, but by no means any less talented, Harry Whitty is a 17-year-old singer, songwriter and multi-instrumentalist. He's often gigging solo or part of the Harry Whitty Quartet. We'll be giving us a little performance in a minute. But first, Harry, how did you get into music in the first place?
Yes, so my mum's actually a piano teacher. So, lots of music around the house from a young age, and my older brother's a musician as well. Lots of music around the house and learning piano from a young age. So, yeah.
I mean, you don't only play piano, you've lots of other instruments. What others do you play?
So I started playing trombone at age 9 or so, I think, because sort of a brass playing family, and but then started listening to like James Morrison and Jacob Collier, people like that, and then just got into the whole kind of multi-instrumental thing. So it's sort of, I don't know, a few years ago, I guess now, yeah.
And what are some of your musical inspirations, as it were?
Yeah, so very wide-ranging, because my sound doesn't really fit into one genre, but like Jamie Cullum, Wolf Peck, Joey Dozick, and local bands like David Migden and the Twisted Roots and Roberto Picasso, so yeah.
And how would you describe your music for people who potentially haven't heard it before?
Yeah, so I'd say a kind of mix of jazz, funk, pop, blues, yeah.
And have you got anything coming up in the county or any gigs that you're playing anytime soon?
Yeah, so I've got one of my biggest ones for a long time at the Trinity Theatre this Saturday, 25th of November, and that's with my band, the Harry Whitty Quartet, and playing before David Migden and Twisted Roots, who I mentioned, so, and still some tickets available.
And what are some of your fondest memories of playing as gigs?
Oh, well, that's a good question. Probably one of my fondest ones was, I started my band around a year and a half ago, and that first gig playing my own tunes, that's probably one of my favourites, and launching the EP was pretty special, yeah.
Fantastic. And moving forward, is this something obviously you want to go into as a career? What hopes do you have for the future?
Yeah, well, a career in music is kind of the dream, and and just keep on releasing music, and hopefully audience will grow and etc. Yeah.
Fantastic. Tell me a little bit about the song you're going to play for us now.
So I'm going to play a tune called Try My Best, which is the title track of the EP.
Fantastic. Take it away.
Thank you. I try my best to know what to do. I try my best, I'm telling you, 'cause I don't know where I'm going and I don't know my way. I don't know where I'm going and I don't know my way to get back now. I'm trapped now. All musicians seeing a fight in a pack now, so I back down. But I try my best now. Try my best now. I'm finding my way through the dark now. Finding my way, but it's hard now. 'Cause I don't know where I'm going and I don't know my way. I don't know where I'm going and I don't know my way to get back now. I'm trapped now. All musicians seem to find in a pack now, so I back down. But I try my best now. Try my best now. And try my best to know what to do. And try my best to know what to say. Try my best to do the right thing, but I'm trying. But I try my best now. Try my best now. Try my best now. Try my best now.